Lots of stuff happened on the show tonight, and if I didn't have opinions on it, I wouldn't be here. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal, Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with your May 13th NXT review. And as we do, we're going to take care of the house cleaning first. And the house cleaning, or at least the first element of the house cleaning, isn't even about me. I want to send a quick shout out to your friend and mine, Connor, aka OK Fabe, who's taking a step away from the wrestling content and doing some other stuff on the OK Fabe show. So go look him up on Spotify, iTunes, Anchor, all the same places that you find my podcast, and show him some love because he's branching off in a different direction, and I wish him all the best. I hope to still have him on here occasionally to talk about the pay-per-view previews and all that sort of thing, but he's going wildly off in a different direction, and we wish him nothing but the best. We wish him nothing but luck and love on the OK Fabe show in its new direction. I will now plug myself and what I'm trying to get up off the ground with Kristen, which is the Flicks Fix series. Now, this week we were meant to do the third Godzilla installment, which was Godzilla King of the Monsters. Unfortunately, timing did not work out for that, so I did put up the next repost, which was the repost of our review of Black Panther. Now, if you go back, since we started the Flicks Fix a couple weeks ago, we have done Godzilla, we have done Kong Skull Island, I have reposted our review of Captain America Civil War, and I just reposted our review of Black Panther. Now, the reposts you might have seen before. I have tried to clean them up. I have tried to edit them together a bit better, improve the sound, because let's be real, the sound on the initial edits was pretty shit. The response has been mixed to this. The live reactions aren't that much, and it's picking up views after the fact. So to those of you out there who I know are sharing them around, thank you very much. For those of you that haven't, if you don't know, they're typically going up Tuesday at around 9 p.m. I said Tuesday, right? Lost in my own train of thoughts. Yes, Flicks Fix is going up when there is one, because there won't necessarily be one every week. But when they do go up, they will go up 9 p.m. Tuesday nights. That's Toronto time. Obviously, now I'm going on with that. I am going to plug my socials, because I haven't done it in a while. Go find me on Twitter at SpazPhoenix1, on Instagram at SpazPhoenix, on Facebook at the Spaz Phoenix Podcast group, and just hang out here. If you're watching me right now, my pretty sexy face in the gimmick hat, you know where to find me on YouTube. Go find me on any podcast platform you want by searching Spaz Phoenix Podcast. If you're listening to me right now in the audio form and you wonder what my big sexy face and the gimmick hat looks like, you can find me on YouTube by searching Spaz Phoenix. It's all good. You can go back through the old playlists. You can see what I'm doing right now with the Flicks Fix, the Off the Cuff series, the Get Hyped series for the pay-per-views. It's hard to get hyped right now in the times that we are in, and I am going to get a quick rant off of my chest, and it has nothing to do with wrestling, but when I've been reviewing NXT recently, I've always made a point of mentioning the, the Carfax commercial, because it's got Mojo Rawley in it, and it's just a weird commercial, and it doesn't do anything good for anybody. It doesn't make Carfax look good, it doesn't make Mojo Rawley look good, it doesn't make WWE look good, it doesn't make anybody look good, and I always bring that up because I find it really ridiculously funny, and it kind of fits into a wrestling show. What I will say, any advertisers out there, again, nothing to do with NXT, this is just me having a rant. We are in a shitty time right now. The COVID thing, the coronavirus, the current global situation, for those of you that are trying to not get demonetized on YouTube, the shut-in, the quarantine, the social distancing, the shutdown, the lockdown, whatever you want to call it. It's a bunch of shit, and if you try to pretend that it's not, you're lying to yourself and the people around you. If I hear one more commercial, I don't care if it's for toilet paper, I don't care if it's for a new car, I don't care if it's for insurance, I don't care if it's for diapers. If I hear one more commercial that starts condescendingly with, "We know you guys are in a hard time right now," I'm going to punch somebody in the throat. My new favorite phrase is, punching you in the throat costs nothing, and I love free shit. I want to find any advertiser that thinks it's cool to start off their ad on a big solemn note. If you're a telephone, if you're a cellular carrier, and you start off your advertising campaign with, hey guys, we all know we're in a really tough spot, right? You are a shit human being and a shit company, and that's a way to guarantee not only am I going to flip the channel, not only am I going to shit talk you on Twitter for whatever good that is, I'm going to give you a bad review on Yelp, but also you're never, ever going to get my business because you're shit. If you're a charitable organization, that's something else. If you're trying to raise money for frontline workers, if you're trying to get food out to people that desperately need it, if you're trying to raise money and awareness for people in old folks' homes and all that, that's an entirely different story, because that actually has to do with what you're trying to do. If you're trying to get me to re-up my contract with Bell Mobility, and you start off your ad with, hey guys, we know the world is in a really tough spot right now. I'm going to change mobile carriers on principle. It's such a shit thing, and I don't have any other podiums to bitch about that, so I'm gonna do it here in the NXT review, even though it has nothing to do with anything. Let's get into the show instead. The show that started, as it always does, with the video package from last week, including Charlotte Flair versus Io Shirai, the return of Rhea Ripley, and Adam Cole, baby, saving us, keeping the NXT title out of the clutches of the problematic Dream. Oh yes. We went into this week, and I shit on NXT this week, at least in the way they advertise it, because they advertised this week's show on Monday Night Raw. And they do a little hype thing, a little commercial telling you what you can expect on this week's show. Like, you know, hey, tune in 2 days. You're already here. You're already on USA, for my friends in the States. You're already on USA. Tune in 2 days from now. We're going to have this for you, and this is what we're going to represent NXT with. Now, 2 weeks ago, or last week, they advertised it based on the double title match, the Shirai versus Flair, and the Adam Cole versus the problematic Dream, which is fine. My issues with Dream aside, those are your two main titles. You're having a double main event on the show. That's a great thing to advertise your show based on. This show this week was based around Balor wasting his time on Cameron Grimes. I hate to say this, and I don't say this lightly, the advertisers for this show, I'm bitching at advertisers tonight, aren't I? But the advertisers, whoever put that package together for tonight's show, if NXT loses the war tonight, I won't even be surprised, because you sold this show based on, okay, one half of that match is Finn Balor. That's awesome. And the other half is Cameron Grimes. So first of all, I don't care about Cameron Grimes because I don't care. And I'm not going to care about Finn Balor because he's wasting his time with Cameron Grimes. Now, there's another side to that coin, and we're going to get to it when we get to it, because I went from not caring to being very conflicted. But we will get to that when we get to it. The thing that they should have sold this on was obviously the NXT Tag Team Championship match, but that was the opening match tonight. It was the discount... the discount broserweights with Thatcher and Riddle taking on Imperium. And I like Imperium. And low-key, this is reminding us, even in these lockdown times, NXT's constant support of NXT UK. Now, we can't shine a huge light on that because Walter's stuck on the other side of the world, because our current Cruiserweight champion, Jordan Devlin, is stuck on the other side of the world. Hence, we have the interim tournament. But we do have the other two guys from Imperium, which is awesome. And somehow we got Rhea Ripley back from obscurity and the passport issues she was apparently having in Australia, which is fine. Also, Australia is the new invading force in WWE. We'll get to that later as well. But Riddle and Thatcher versus Imperium. Now, I would love to be excited about this match. I really would, but it's the discount broserweights, and if it was Pete Dunne, there'd be so much more story into it. But here we go. Barthel and Thatcher start. Thatcher works the arm. There's a grounded key lock by Thatcher, a knee to the side of the head. Chain wrestling sequence to follow, and a bow and arrow by Thatcher. Mounted punches by Barthel. Reversed into mounted punches by Thatcher. I keep wanting to say Dunne because that's who should be in the match right now, but that's fine. Front slam and a front face lock by Fabian, rather. I can't read my own writing. It's fine. Headlock by Riddle, and backsplash and a backpack sleeper by Riddle, a gut wrench suplex and a forearm, and a backbreaker by Fabian as we go into the commercial break. And there's no picture-in-picture because we're still in the empty arena era, and why would you have picture-in-picture? For reasons. Head and arm lock by Fabian as we come back from the commercial break. There's a corner spear and a double team kick by Imperium. Mounted punches by Barthel. Fabian stomps on all the limbs, forearms and knee strikes by Riddle. Back elbow shots, roundhouse by Riddle, and Riddle monkey flips Barthel into the corner, but also monkey flips Barthel into Thatcher, who gets launched off the apron and decides, fuck this, I'm leaving. Riddle tries to keep up the fight with a bro to sleep and a series of knee strikes, but a European bomb by Imperium basically gets them a 2-on-1 handicap victory for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Now, the story is Thatcher walking out on Riddle, you know, this tag team that is super important, that has been around about 3 weeks, and Imperium, who are for all intents and purposes from another brand. Now, with the inter-brand challenge stuff that's happening on Raw and SmackDown and Charlotte Flair kind of floating all over the place, I could make a really big joke out of the fact that, you know, I'm still trying to separate the two NXT brands, but ultimately, it gives them an excuse to talk about NXT UK even while we don't have NXT UK at the moment. It keeps Imperium in the forefront of all of our minds, and the feud that's kind of been put on hold because we were supposed to get Walter versus Balor. It serves a lot of masters to have Fabian Eichner and Marcel Barthel as the new tag champs, and the initial tag champs of Dunn and Riddle can't be that team because Dunn is also stuck at the other side of the world. Serves a lot, like I say, not to be repetitive, it serves a lot of masters. The match was all right for what it was, and the story at the end was just kind of like, well, there's a bump, and this is where we all need to be, and this is where the story went. So it kind of flopped, but for all intents and purposes, for a tag team title match in front of no crowd, this really did serve its purposes of the opening match of the night, and it gave us a story, it gave us something to talk about, because even if you're not excited, even if you're not particularly a fan of NXT UK or the Imperium faction, a new set of champions is something to talk about, and you know, it will get its traction on Twitter and social media and all that sort of thing. As we come back from the commercial break, there's Thatcher raging about Riddle and how silly he is and how much he's been wasting his time and whatever, and they have a shoving match in the back and it's torn apart and it's all sort of fine. They're really trying to do this, you know, the breakup of the broserweights without using the real broserweights, which I want to be excited. And I want to invest something because I don't really know much about Timothy Thatcher. I like Matt Riddle. I wish Pete Dunne was still in the mix. Yes, my Destiny Wrestling bias does come in from time to time, but that's fine. Tegan Knox taking on Indy Hartwell, who's also from Australia. Now let me talk about Australia for a second, because we've got the Iconics, who are getting a women's tag title shot on Raw next week, which is fine. We got Buddy Murphy. We've got Rhea Ripley. We've got Toni Storm. Like I say, the Australians are on fire right now in WWE. It's kind of like when people talk about New Japan, and basically if somebody's not from New Japan, they're shit. Looking at you, Michael Sidgwick. But there is a big influx of Australian talent, and I don't know what that means. I as far as I know, or as far as I've heard, there isn't much of an indie scene in Australia. Somebody please, if I'm wrong, if you're in Australia or if you've been to Australia and you can correct me on that, please tell me down in the box below. But I haven't heard anything about what kind of scene there is over there, down under there, whatever the proper expression is. But they introduced Indy Hartwell, who I think I've seen once or twice before. I could be wrong. And normally this would be a great thing. Normally this would be a wonderful thing on commentary. They talk about how she was a first responder back in Australia, and she gave up being a first responder to pursue her life in wrestling. I want that to be an awesome story, because, you know, the time and the dedication and the perseverance it takes to be any type of first responder, as the current situation dictates, is absolutely amazing. Speaks a lot to the character, their ingenuity and all that sort of thing. But at a time, and I'm going to be careful how I say this, because I don't 100% agree, because there's people that are like, wrestling shouldn't be happening right now, and that's a different debate for a different time. But at a time where wrestling is seen as one of those things that definitely doesn't need to be happening right now, what we need is first responders. I'm curious to see how the general public responds, even in a kayfabe sense, to somebody giving up being a first responder to be a pro wrestler. I say, go do whatever the hell you want with your life, but I also say that may not have been the thing to highlight this week. I really don't know. Tell me down in the box below, or tell me in the chat over there what you think about that, because I don't know what to think of that. I know Mauro Ranallo is trying to put over, like, you know, when you're a first responder, there's a lot of toughness, there's a lot of what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? Stamina and physicality and all that type of thing that would come from that. It would be like if you had a former firefighter on on WWE, when they talk about people with ex-military backgrounds and all that sort of thing, and all the characteristics that go into those things, and I get it. Any other time that would be such a selling point, especially for a new character. Look at how they push the military background of somebody like Lacey Evans. Look at how, even though they're heels, look at how they push the military background of guys like the Forgotten Sons. Now, nobody has anything else to say about the Forgotten Sons, but it's pushed in a certain way, and I don't know, in the current situation where, if anything, the world needs more first responders and frontline staff like that, I don't know whether pushing, hey, this person used to be one of those people and now they're a wrestler, is going to be received by the world at large. But I counter that with the world at large isn't watching NXT. So maybe it doesn't matter at all. Tegan Nox I love. Tegan Nox is hot as fuck and incredibly underrated, and I wouldn't mind if she was in that title picture, man. I really, really wouldn't. Collar and elbow type, and there's a takedown by Indy and stomping on all the limbs, sort of doing the Orton stomp around the limbs, and I mean, Tegan Nox isn't the biggest person in the world, so she's got sort of like wiry limbs, and it looks like it hurts. That sounds redundant to say, because we're talking about pro wrestling, but if you've got somebody whose limbs are a bit smaller, who's a bit more petite in stature, like, you're not stomping away at Mabel or Otis. Congratulations to Otis and Asuka for winning the weird money on the roof in the rafters by the trees match on Sunday. We don't need to talk about it, it's fine. But stomping on all those limbs looks really painful when those limbs are smaller. Clubs to the back by Indy and a mudhole stomp, and shots to the back by Nox. Boot by Nox, forearms and a side slam by Indy. Back elbow by Nox. There's a shoulder tackle by Indy, a choke slam, some chops by Nox, an uppercut, and a cannonball. I love that they call it the cannonball. You know, she's obviously trained by Wild Boar, who's in NXT UK right now, along with Primate, which is awesome. You know, she pays tribute to him with the cannonball. She pays tribute to Kane with the chokeslam. There's a top rope crossbody, finishes her off with the Shining Wizard, and Nox obviously gets the win. I like this because Tegan Nox, going into this, you knew she was going to win. But this is how NXT does things so right, and how another Wednesday night show could maybe take a lesson or two. You can have a squash match without squashing somebody, if that makes sense. I don't know how else to say it. Indy Hartwell, especially, you know, when they made a point of pointing out all the Australian stars we have in the WWE right now, when they make a point of going over her history and all that sort of thing, I hope she's going to do something really, really good. Who knows? Speaking of the women's division, we replay once again Charlotte and Shirai and their match last week that was good until the intentional disqualification, the return of Rhea Ripley, and then the shoving match between Rhea Ripley and Io Shirai. More on that later. We go to the back. We see Riddle talking to William Regal on a tablet, and he says, thanks for setting this up so soon, and we basically get the indication that there's going to be a match tonight versus Riddle versus Thatcher. And yes, the Broserweights version 2.0 explode! Except, Thatcher hears all this, interrupts the interview, because Matt Riddle is talking to William Regal on a tablet while somebody's trying to interview him, and both of those conversations get interrupted because Thatcher comes in and kind of half-ass hits him with a computer monitor. And it doesn't even hit him, like, it bounces off his shoulder, and it's really weird, and I don't really care about this. This ends up being the main event. Everything else on this show I've got something to say about, and I don't really have anything to say about the main event. And my feeling of this is sort of represented in how serious both these guys were taking it, how intense both of these guys were, because I don't feel like they were. And I get it, it's hard, it's a story that's got like 3 weeks of build, it was fabricated out of nowhere because of the current global situation, and also because of the current global situation, it's been pre-taped in front of no audience. It's very, very, very hard to fabricate some intensity into a match that doesn't naturally have it. So I'm giving these guys a pass. I still don't have any opinion of Thatcher, really. He's big. But you know who else is big and who's better at being big? Karrion, formerly known as Killer Cross, the guy that had the awesome entrance last week, who we're going to talk about later. You need to be something other than big. Even Dexter Lumis is creepy. Like, you guys know me. I've gone up and down what I think about the whole Dexter Lumis thing. His big talent is that he doesn't blink, and that he randomly appears in main event scenes for reasons, and he probably has dead children in his basement. But at least that's something. I don't know what to think of Timothy Thatcher, other than he's the stand-in for Pete Dunne. It's the problem they had with Kane for a long time. What's Kane's biggest characteristic? He's the Undertaker's brother. That's not a character. That makes you a pawn in somebody else's story. I hope they don't do it with this guy. I hope they give this guy a chance, break away from Riddle, show me something else that I can base an opinion on, but I don't have anything right now. Group A of the NXT interim round robin cruiserweight thing. Tony Nese versus Jake Atlas, and Tony Nese has no wins under his belt, and his whole thing, they were saying it the whole match, he can't win the tournament because he's already down 2 matches. He's here to play spoiler for Jake Atlas. Spoiler alert, that doesn't happen. Side headlock by Atlas, it's reversed by Nese, and he hits him with a scorpion kick. Uppercut by Nese, and the super slingshot thing that Tony Nese does is kind of fun, where he sort of runs and jumps out of the ring, takes the other guy with him, hits him with sort of a super hangman over the top. There's some mounted punches. Mudhole by Nese, suplex, head and arm lock. Front face lock by Nese, and there's some other vague, combinations of really nondescript strikes. Some chops by Nese, a running neckbreaker by Atlas, a mudhole by Nese, a top rope trip by Atlas, and then I'm not gonna lie, I missed it. I can't rewind it because I'm watching it on a shitty live stream. They called it something else on commentary, but it's that weird cartwheel DDT thing he does off the top rope. Gets the win for Atlas, and Atlas's record in this tournament, or in this round robin portion of the tournament, goes to 2-1. So good for him. He's very okay. If that doesn't make me sound like a dick. I haven't seen anything from him that really makes me, oh really, wow, cool, whatever. I like the cartwheel DDT thing. He's got a cool finisher right now, and he seems to have a lot of energy, and he's got more intensity than the main event. I'll tell you that right now. But other than he kind of sounds like an SJW when he's cutting his promos. Sorry to say, but again, I'm not sorry to say because I'm just being honest. Nothing for me to dislike about him. If the promos are cringe, the promos are cringe. It's WWE after all. But, I mean, if he makes it a little bit farther in the tournament, if he's in the final, he's not going to win it, I don't think. I mean, again, no offense to him, but there's a lot of other well-developed characters in there that I would like to see win. I would like to see Drake Maverick just to watch the internet piss on itself. I'd like to see Kushida, I'd like to see Swerve, I'd like to see a bunch of different things. We replay, once again, what happened between Adam Cole, Undisputed Era, Dexter Lumis, and the Problematic Dream last week. And then the Undisputed Era do a Zoom call, and Twitter blows up immediately. This sounds like the Bubbly Bunch. I want to say something to you. Right now, I'm not giving any credit to the Undisputed Era here. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not even giving credit to NXT here. I will say, for the record, this is not the first time, and Bubbly Bunch was not the first time a group of people on television have televised a Zoom call. Now, I will say this right now. Walking Dead is not on right now, but if you watch Walking Dead, you know that there's a follow-up show when you watch Walking Dead. It's called Talking Dead. It's hosted by Chris Hardwick, who's annoying on purpose, kind of like me. And when they went into quarantine, when they went into social isolation, social distancing, or whatever, they did the entire talk show, an entire hour-long talk show in sort of Zoom, Skype format. The Bubbly Bunch, and I will say the same thing about the Undisputed Era here. Undisputed Era here did not break any new ground, but I hate to tell you, I hate to tell the AEW stands out there, neither did Chris Jericho. And I like Chris Jericho. You guys know that I like Chris Jericho. I have the utmost respect for Chris Jericho. Sammy Guevara is one of the things on AEW that I can actually stand, and the other 3 guys in the group are also there. I get it, and they did a good comedy shtick. The brawl they did last week in the empty football field beside the stadium, that was a bit bullshit, and they fought outside a Corona bin. Distasteful. After Jake the Snake Roberts simulated sexually assaulting Brandy Rhodes with an actual snake. We get the joke. It's his cock. Fine. Wonderful. Not a reason for me to watch AEW. Moving on. Point being, no, Undisputed Era did not break any new ground with this Zoom meeting promo that they did on the show tonight, but they didn't rip off the Bubbly Bunch because that wasn't new either. End of. Moving on. Karrion Kross and Scarlett cut a pre-recorded promo / vignette thing, and I would love to tell you, I really would love to tell you what they said, but I was distracted. I think from the little bit of verbiage that I could pick out, I think they were calling out Tommaso Ciampa. But I'm not gonna lie, hand on my heart, I wasn't listening to what they were saying, because the entire time this was being cut, the entire time this vignette was going on, it was the old school theme music from the Armageddon pay-per-view back in the day. And somebody immediately got on me on Twitter for mentioning that and said, what was my favorite Armageddon pay-per-view? Obviously, it was the one where Jeff Hardy became champion for the first time, because that was fucking awesome. But that whole, the end is here, that's terrible. I'm never doing that again, but you get the point. I popped huge, and it wasn't the only bit of nostalgia we got on this show either, which is even better. I like Karrion Kross, I like Scarlett, Bordeaux, not Bordeaux. I hope it's great. We have so many stories. It's sort of a double-edged sword, because we have another story that we're going to talk about later on between two other characters that aren't a title story. This isn't a title story either. I do genuinely question who's going after Adam Cole at the next pay-per-view, and trust me, we're going to talk about the next pay-per-view in a second. There's a video package for Dakota Kai versus Raquel Gonzalez. They understand each other because they know what it's like to be overlooked. Rah. Here's the problem. Again, I'm conflicted because I love Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai and Candice LeRae are tied for the better heel turn, better totally squeaky clean Snow White baby faces that went heel and did it properly. Candice LeRae and Dakota Kai are tied in that regard. But at the same time, Candice LeRae is attached to Johnny Gargano, who is an entirely other treat on this show. And Dakota Kai is with Raquel Gonzalez, who's big. And we've already had that discussion in this video. Moving on. We go to the back. We go to the, I guess it's the gorilla position or the production truck position. And none other than DX. Now, again, I'm conflicted. It's the theme of the night. I have a lot of time for DX. I have a lot of nostalgia for Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is, and it's not debatable, Shawn Michaels is one of the best of all time. I am a huge defender of Triple H and the unnecessary slander that he gets sometimes. He is, after all, the brainchild behind the black and gold brand that we're talking about right now. But still, for continuity purposes, there's a small part of me, a very small part of me that thinks William Regal should have made this announcement. He went on the bump to announce that there was an announcement, and DX is making the announcement here. And they also had Road Dogg, and Road Dogg looks like Santa with the fucking beard, doesn't he? They made fun of the Triple H 25th anniversary thing that happened on SmackDown when Vince came and talked about Katie Vick and set the internet on fire and then literally turned the lights out on them, and they played the crickets and all that. And they said, but speaking of 25th anniversaries, we are coming up on the 25th anniversary of the In Your House pay-per-view. And then they turned it into a running gag about how everybody's in their house right now. There's part of me that loves the balls on them for making that comparison, and there's part of me that's just like, people are going to cry about that. Basically, Sunday, June 7th, NXT TakeOver in your house. And even the logo, I'm going to try and include the logo on the thumbnail for this video. The logo on this is absolutely great because it's the serious cool look of the TakeOver logo mixed with the absolutely campy, old school, goofy looking In Your House logo. And I kind of love it. And I think they're sort of telegraphing that with the world the way it is right now, and I know I hate that we have to keep saying that, but with the way the world is right now, you're not going to get a super intense takeover. I'm really terrified that they're just going to go down the road to the Performance Center and do TakeOver in your house, in their house, at the PC. But I think by the name alone, they're telling you, we're going to give you a show, it's going to be good, but don't expect it to be necessarily what we expect from a takeover. And I mean, at this point, we know that no pay-per-views are what they should be right now. Money in the Bank, while it was hilarious, while it was a lot of fun, while you had the cameos from Not Doink and Brother Love and Vince McMahon telling off AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, which was basically big bad WWE telling off the indies, let's be real. And it ended with Otis getting a Money in the Bank briefcase and Asuka getting a briefcase with a title belt in it. Congratulations to Becky Lynch. Total side note, Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins are having a baby. That's fucking awesome. Congratulations to them. Point being, you don't really need to tell us that pay-per-views aren't what they used to be at the moment, but for NXT, WWE knows that NXT and the TakeOver brand specifically has a different level of expectation. So I think they did this in a way to pay homage to the history of the old pay-per-view and how it used to be. Because remember how basically back in the day, for those of you that don't know, anything that wasn't a Big Four was In Your House something. In Your House, Beware of Taker. In Your House, I can't think of any other names right now because of course I can't. But the same way that every NXT show is called a takeover, everything that wasn't a WrestleMania, a Royal Rumble, or Survivor Series, King of the Ring, a SummerSlam, was called In Your House something, the way we get TakeOver something now. So the fact that we get TakeOver In Your House, it'll be fine, but I think it's the indicator that it's not going to be your average everyday NXT pay-per-view, which is good, because it wouldn't have been anyway. So Sunday, June 7th, hopefully we get Mr. Jake DeMarco back on the show. We'll preview that. It'll be good. Obviously, for those of you that know, Jake DeMarco is still dealing with his health issues, etc. Obviously, we here at the Spaz Phoenix brand, I don't know why I said that, sending out all my love to Jake DeMarco, and hopefully we get him on here again real soon. Finn Balor wasting his time with Cameron Grimes. Let's talk about that, because I dwelled on the In Your House thing long enough. I like it. It made me smile. Not because I think it's going to be the absolute 5-star fantastic, you know, it's not going to be 5 stars in the Tokyo Dome. It's really not. But it's going to be a good fucking time. Balor and Grimes, and to go with the theme of the night, I am conflicted once again because Finn Balor had to waste his time with Cameron Grimes, and when we get to the end, I will be even more conflicted because there are results. One that I like, and one that I don't like. Balor ragdolls Grimes around the ring to start. There's a seated choke. Side headlock by Balor, stepping on the side of the head. Grimes works on the arm. Corner chops by Balor. Elbow drop by Grimes. Basement drop kick by Balor, and a side slam by Grimes as we go to the commercial break. First of all, a Cameron Grimes match doesn't need to go 2 segments. I'm just saying. Modified crossface by Grimes when we get back from the break. Forearms by Balor. Hard Irish whip by Grimes. Double stomp by Balor. PK to the midsection. A mud hole and a stomp to the head by Balor. And then Damian Priest, as they brawl to the outside, Damian Priest shows up in the not audience and goes face to face with Balor for reasons. And then as the referee's looking away, hits him with the same nightstick the same way he did with Keith Lee. Tosses him back into the ring for the cave-in, and I cannot believe... I'm going to take a nice deep seat here for a second. Cameron Grimes defeats Finn Balor. Now, Grimes fucks off. Priest comes into the ring, brings a chair, and proceeds to hit the Reckoning on the steel chair, unfold the chair, sit on it backwards because he's a cool kid, with the leg of the chair choking Balor. And the next words that came out of his mouth made me smile a whole bunch. I want my name to live forever. Why not take out a prince? This was more fun than I thought. This was more fun than 3 weeks ago. So there's your reveal. The snake in the long grass, as Finn Balor was saying, was Damian Priest, which means we are getting at some point Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. And I really hope, even though it won't matter, even though it probably won't be in front of any fans, I really hope that Priest versus Balor is the first match announced for the aforementioned NXT TakeOver In Your House, because that will be really good. We get action from Group B in the NXT Interim Cruiserweight Round Robin Tournament thing, gimmick schneebits, and it is Swerve Scott versus Jack Gallagher, except we sort of get jump-started because Tony Nese attacks Swerve on the outside as he's making his way to the ring. Now, the commentators say that this is in response to something that Swerve was saying in the back. I must have missed this. As I say, I can't rewind the show on the live stream that I'm watching on, but apparently he said something to the effect of, if you can't even win a single match in this tournament, you shouldn't be here. And I mean, Tony Nese has no wins in the tournament. He's like 0-3, so I guess he took that a bit personally. So we're going to have a Tony Nese versus Swerve Scott feud coming out of this. I don't care about that at all. It takes a lot. He's an impressive dude, don't get me wrong, but it takes a lot for me to give a shit about Tony Nese. It took teaming him with Daniel Bryan for me to give a shit about Drew Gulak, and it was Gulak and Nese that used to be a team, and I didn't care about either one of them. Tony Nese, I really don't care. So him being involved in this, I mean, it was a weird short match. Gallagher got the win. I mean, he might go to the final. It's weird. I don't know what to do in my head with the Gallagher character, but I mean, it is doing what it's supposed to do in a way. Like, a tournament is supposed to get you ultimately to one winner, and that winner goes off to be a champion or be a contender or whatever, and then over the course of the tournament, other stories are supposed to have formed. Now, that's what's happened here. Tony Nese has, you know, cost Swerve a spot in the tournament. Tony Nese is already out of the tournament. The two of them can feud. Structurally, that's what a tournament is supposed to do. It's just the fact that in this case, I don't give a shit about Tony Nese. It's like Cameron Grimes. We needed Cameron Grimes to have his match with Finn Balor so that Finn Balor could then move on to the Damian Priest story. We needed another body in there. I don't think you needed to sacrifice a Finn Balor win to Cameron fucking Grimes. And it's the same thing here. Tony Nese doing that structural tournament thing, building other stories off of the tournament. It's just they're doing it with somebody I don't care about, which is unfortunate. Caden Carter versus Aaliyah. And again, this is kind of weird. This is kind of conflicting. It doesn't really take up much time, but I will say, single leg trip by Aaliyah to start the match. Aaliyah, more aggressive in this match than we've seen her in quite a bit, because usually she plays a little bit of a cowardly heel in the ring, so she gets her shit in and runs a lot of the rest of the time. But a single leg trip by Aaliyah, Carter works on the ankle. There's a shoving match, there's a hesitation drop kick by Carter, overhead toss by Aaliyah, and a series of shots in the corner, boot by Aaliyah, and a choke on the ropes, and the Robert Stone brand, but Robert Stone himself comes down the ring. He's watching the match happen. There's a running kick by Aaliyah, but there's a mule kick and a deathlock by Carter, and Caden Carter gets the win. Now, the rumor is, and I hope it's true, that they're going to put Aaliyah in with the Robert Stone brand. Now, with Chelsea Green, when Chelsea Green debuted with Robert Stone brand, she debuted and lost, and then they went away for a couple of weeks and they revamped her and whatever, and then she started getting a couple of wins under her belt. If they do the same thing with Aaliyah, I think that would be cool too. Because right now, you've got Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross with the Women's Tag Team Championships. They're going to take on the Iconics, which is going to be fun enough, and anybody that watches What Culture is going to see Adam Wilborn do the weird Iconics thing that he does, and that's fine. They can be the champions, but they need to start carrying those things across all three brands again. And if they do that, I am really, really in favor of either Aaliyah and Chelsea Green getting a shot, not winning, but getting a shot. But also, I want them to play up the real life friendship between Caden Carter and Casey Catanzaro, because the two of them as a tag team are athletic as fuck, and that could be at least a good match. Not necessarily saying that I want to see the title belts put on them either, but a little bit of a boost from having those titles on NXT. And I say this for a couple of reasons as well. NXT has already proven that they can boost titles. They saved the Cruiserweight Championship from 205 Live obscurity, and they treat women's wrestling in general better than the other two brands do. Yes, they do. Even though Asuka's the champion right now, and all of you are jizzing about it, and that's fine, it's wonderful. I'm happy for Asuka, happy for Becky Lynch, she's going off to have a baby, happy for Asuka, she got handed a belt, it's fine. When Triple H got handed a belt, that was bad. Asuka got handed a belt, it's fine, because you all like her. I get it. It doesn't mean that they treat their women better than NXT treats their women's division. Now, they've proven they can revamp a title. with what they did with the Cruiserweight Championship. They've proven what they can do with the women's division, with what they've done with their women's division. So there's nothing to say that the black and gold power of NXT, and I'm putting my heart on my sleeve here, the NXT brand, the NXT show could revamp meaning into that women's tag team championship. And no, you are not going to save those titles by putting them on Trasha Skanks and Booley on SmackDown. You're just not. It's fine. You don't need to do it. I know you want to. I know you want the SJW points. I know. I understand. But don't do it. They've been handed enough. And they didn't deserve any of it. Oh no. Moving on, once again, we got Dinner with the Garganos, and I'm not going to go over the whole thing because I know most people hate it, and I love it, and it's fine. They're bragging about their wins, their respective wins over Dijak and Casey Catanzaro. They make fun of her for being an American Ninja Warrior because she might be American, but she's not a ninja, and she's not a warrior. Dijak was you know, a guy that, you know, went face-to-face with Keith Lee, who's the current North American champion. Some story weaving going on there, but he took out Dijak with the help of Candice LeRae, obviously. So they start talking shit about Mia Yim. They start talking shit about Keith Lee. Now there's a couple of interesting things here because Mia Yim just had a shot at Charlotte Flair and the NXT Women's Championship. Keith Lee is the North American Championship, and they both said they want to be the championship couple. So if Candice LeRae makes her way through Mia Yim and gets a shot at Charlotte Flair, and Johnny Gargano pisses off Keith Lee because his girlfriend is pissing off his girlfriend, you could have a couple of different things there. You're going to get a mixed tag match out of this. From the beginning stages right here, right now in this promo, you're going to get that mixed tag at some point, but it's going to be a vehicle to at least one of them getting a title, and I am very, very okay with that. Speaking of the Women's Championship, or people that are fighting for the Women's Championship eventually, Rhea Ripley's set to take on Io Shirai next week. She cuts a promo about how she's going to destroy her and whatever. And I love Rhea Ripley. You guys know, when I saw her and when I saw Toni Storm, in the brief time that I was doing NXT UK, and as soon as Shayna Baszler, as soon as Rhea Ripley came to NXT proper, what have I said? I've always said, Rhea Ripley, fucking star. Now, I think she's going a bit heel again, which is fine. I don't know how that works when the champion is Charlotte Flair, who's a heel. It's weird, right? Because Balor's a heel, and he's dealing with nothing but heels. And now Rhea Ripley looks like she might be turning a little bit, but I couldn't pay attention to anything she was saying in her promo. It's kind of like the Killian Cross thing, Karrion Cross thing before, when I was, you know, doing the Armageddon theme, and that's what I was marking out for instead of the promo. I couldn't pay attention to anything she was saying because she's got this, I don't know what you call this, people listening on audio form, just ignore this for a second. This, what do you call this, the little web thing on the inside of your top lip? She's got that pierced. I don't judge. Piercings are fine, tattoos are fine, I've got them, but she's got this pierced, and because they were so close to her face, all you could see is this thing that looks like a doorbell resting on her two front teeth. I'm not judging. I'm not making fun. I still love her. She's fucking great. But it was very weird. Sorry, my nose is very itchy. Don't look. It's fine. But the promo was really, really weird. And then Riddle and Thatcher. I don't know what to say, because the show gave me a lot to talk about tonight. And just about everything I was conflicted on to a certain degree. I want to see Aaliyah in the Robert Stone brand, but usually they would announce that by her getting a win, or Robert Stone helping her get a win. I like the whole Dinner with the Garganos thing, because that could go one way or another. I don't like that Grimes beat Balor, but it got us to Balor versus Priest. I don't think that they should be doing an in your house when you're making fun of the fan base for being in their houses. There's a lot of mixed things here, and the conflict continues into the main event, because Riddle versus Thatcher. I know Riddle's got the MMA background and Thatcher's got the amateur background, and they tried to mimic both of those things in this match, and it should be good, and it was really technically sound, and I do have notes, but I'd be lying to you guys if I said I cared. I really would. Because it's a manufactured story with a stand-in for Pete Dunne. If this was happening with Pete Dunne right now, if it was happening in front of a crowd right now, but I don't care. And if I don't care about the two guys fighting, and if I don't care about the manufactured reason they're fighting, then just them going in there and rolling around and doing a bunch of technical stuff that was great. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, these guys know what they're doing. Obviously, these guys, in one way or another, were putting on a clinic, and I know that there are people out there that would have eaten this match up. And I get that, and I appreciate that. And for the people that is exactly in their wheelhouse, I am really happy for them, because they probably would love to see more stuff like this. I couldn't care. They kept on going. Towards the end, they kept on going for different finishers. Thatcher was like an absolute viper, pun intended, with this knee bar that he was trying to get on Riddle. Kept on stomping the feet, obviously, because he's got the bare feet, and that's something we can do. A lot of striking, a lot of like ground grappling, a lot of amateur-ish wrestling to say, hey, these guys have fought in other ways. These guys have been involved in other combat sports, and there's an element of that probably should amp up the legitimacy of the match, and I wish I was more into it. I really, really do. But then when Thatcher one more time goes for this knee bar that he's trying to put on, and Riddle is basically able to sit up in it into a pin, and basically it's if you're familiar with Simon Miller, and he always makes fun of the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll up. That's kind of what we got here, and I wish I was excited. There's the story coming out of this is that we have brand new tag team champions. The former champions are fighting each other. There's a bunch of cool sub-stories going on right now. You got Karrion Kross going after Tommaso Ciampa. You got Gargano possibly going for the North American Championship. You got Candice LeRae setting her sights in other places. You got Finn Balor, who's waiting to face Walter, who's now going to go on and face Priest. Now, I like that, because you guys know for the longest time I wanted Priest in the North American title picture, but a match with Balor could do just as much for him as getting a mid-card title. We've continued with the Cruiserweight Classic tournament thing, you know, round-robin tournament to crown the NXT interim not quite real champion, because the real champion's on the other side of the world because of the current global situation championship. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I really wish there was a main event here that I cared about. I really, really do. And I like it, though. This show was bizarrely full. Like, there was a lot of different things for me to sink my teeth into. A lot of stuff that feels like it's a reset, because obviously so-and-so can't fight so-and-so. Balor and Priest, because we can't have Balor versus Walter, is the prime example. The Broserweights 2.0 breaking up because we can't have the Broserweights now feels like a great example. The whole tournament, because the tournament is over on the other, because the champion is on the other side of the world right now, feels like that. It feels like NXT is in a state of reset, and I like that. And I can't get too excited about it just yet, because I don't know where the reset leaves us. But I'm in that predictory sort of, I'm ready to be excited. I think I'm going to be excited, and I don't know what the fuck to call that, but it's kind of cool. And in the realm and the time that we're in right now, where every commercial break has a commercial that starts with, hey guys, we know the world's in a really tough time right now. I love seeing some kick-ass wrestling, and I love not knowing where all of it's going to end up. This has been quite a ramble. I'm losing my voice. That's why, if you're watching me right now, you've seen it. If you're listening to me right now, you've heard it. This is why I've got a lot of water in front of me, because I've been talking for about 45 minutes, and despite what you might think, I do run out of voice eventually. We've got more tournament stuff coming up next week. We've got Shirai versus Ripley next week. We've got the Garganos doing something hopefully next week, and probably another Karrion Kross match next week. Maybe the return of Ciampa. I don't know. There's lots and lots of moving parts. I think that's the best thing we can take away. I'm definitely rambling now. I think the best thing we can take from this is nothing main event happened this week. We didn't have Adam Cole there, other than in the Zoom meeting promo that they definitely did not steal from the Bubbly Bunch. We didn't have the Women's Championship holder Charlotte Flair there this week, but we are at least in the conversation this week, and that's pretty cool. I like it all. We had DX there. We're gonna get in your house again. There's lots and lots and lots to talk about. I'm not going to do that anymore though, because my voice is killing me. So tell me down in the box below. Tell me in the chat over there if you're watching this live on Premiere on Thursday. Go back and check out the Flicks Fix movie reviews that Kristen and I have been doing. Go over to the OK Fabe Show podcast and show him some love from us. Go to Twitter and find Jake DeMarco and tell him that we hope he's all doing a good job. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.
You're a freak like me, don't apologize. They can't hold you down. You were born to rise. It's our time now to come out. If you're a freak like me.